from authentic sources. You have to give credit, put projects. So uh, the objective is the last thing, and the least attention is given to objectives in the research by students when they do their projects, because you start with an introduction, the body, and the conclusion of any project. But when it is a research project, even if it is a review project, the objective has to be very clear. And today, we're just going to be discussing a little more detail on this, because I would like you all to publish your articles, publish in journals, publish in magazines, give or newspaper, but write your article. Whatever college project you do, I'm sure you can give it a little shape, take the help of mentors, and take the help of your teachers, and publish, because that is going to be an academic contribution to yourself. Think of it as an investment for yourself. Not only are you going to get a degree, but you will also get a publication to your credit. So a research project that is going to be published, for that you need to have an objective which is very specific to answer the research questions, because any project, there are certain questions that it answers. It indicates the researchers want to get what you want to get from the research. So anybody reading your article will know what to expect as an outcome from your study. And it also specifies the purpose of the research, and therefore objective becomes the core of the study. Research is a process. It follows these steps. Basic 7 steps are to be followed. We always start with a statement of a problem. That is what is objective. This is stating of a problem. It need not be a problem that you're trying to solve. It could be just an interesting topic and you want to go into the depth of it. So that becomes your research, to find out more about. Then what will you do? You will put those keywords in Google and search, and that's called literature survey. So you get various thousands, lakhs of sites where you get these resources from, and then you find that there is a problem which is not solved, or there is a research gap, and previous researchers have done so much work, but this particular little gap has not been filled up, or nobody has tried to answer this problem. So finding that research gap, and then you prepare your design for methodology. So this, till you reach your design methodology, actually all you're doing is planning. And to put a shape to your methodology, you need to have
I think Ram has lost connection.
yes.
I guess we'll have to call and inform because sometimes we may not realize as a speaker.
Okay.
Ma'am, you're back on now.
Okay, thanks. Connection. Sorry, are you able to see the presentation now?
Ma'am, you'll have to reshare it. Present now again.
Are you able to see?
Ma'am, does it show a buffer that it's presenting?
Uh, it just tells me.
Okay, we can see the slide now.
Are you back on the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry for that, and I didn't know I was talking to myself. Was I on this slide earlier?
Yes, ma'am, you.
Okay. I'm going to the relationship between objectives, hypothesis, and the analysis. So I mentioned that these are interrelated. So even before you start your study, your objective has to be very clear. Only then can you proceed and plan your hypothesis or your analysis or what statistics you're going to be using. I gave an example, whether it's a review, a research paper or a review paper, the objective has to be there. It cannot be aimless. It has to be sure, definite, and that's why I said it should be smart objectives. And I came to this slide where I said an objective has to be smart because it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So we came to how do we formulate an objective? It starts with a verb, something that you will be doing. So it suggests action. So every objective will start from the objective of the study is to study, to identify, to examine, to analyze, to establish, to determine, and so on. You see this list? This list has been taken from Bloom's cognitive taxonomy, which is an established order of, you have these 6 colors, which suggests that the lower order to the higher order. Now, recall is nothing but based on memory. Whatever knowledge we have, we are asked to recall. Just list down. So, whatever memory based, knowledge based. That is important because that's the basis of knowledge. Then you explain, examine. Only if you can remember something can you explain or compare and discuss, predict or some, and go to the higher orders. In the next order, it is apply. Whatever knowledge you have, you apply it, examine, you illustrate, you classify, you solve, and you analyze. So you're going to higher order of uh, in the taxonomy. So the action of your objective should also suggest that you go to a higher order. For example, when you come to create, now the last one that you see is plan, invent, compose, design. It's all these words suggest innovation. So that is the need today. People want you to innovate. So you need to select an objective that is of a higher order and not just describe, explain. Because this is something that we do, like it's used, these words, I'm sure you are all familiar with. Teachers use it in formulating question papers, in formulating questions in a question paper. So if it's a recalling, you don't need much effort, but when it has to be examined, analyzed, categorized, you need to use higher comprehension skills. I give an example. You must have seen ranking in one of the words, that is, suppose BCA students want to search and find out what to do next for their postgraduate courses. So you would go to Google and say, which are the top 10 cyber security courses in India? The ranking that were given in 2019. So here comes the list. Google gives you a list. Or which are the top 10 data science courses that I can do? Or which are the artificial intelligence? What are the courses available? So it gives you a list of institutions which have been ranked. Now, who does this ranking? So this has come from a very systematic research that has been done by organizations. There are several organizations which will do this. For the home science courses, what do I do next? Home science, where is it available? What is the specialization? So Google gives you this research list of top 10 organizations according to the ranking. So that's where research comes in. So any objective of a study is to analyze the perspective. I wouldn't go into details because I'm going to be giving on each slide these examples. So what I will do is I'll discuss these different kinds of studies which are used at different organization levels or individual levels in the society. So that gives you an idea where you could apply these research objectives. And not only objectives. Objectives, I said, are interlinked with the hypothesis, and the hypothesis may be linked with the what statistical analysis you will do. So it is objective, hypothesis, and the analysis tool that I will discuss. So I'll go to individual slides. And before that, I want to tell you about these variables. An objective always gives you or tells you, suggests to you the connection between variables and the objectives. For example, objectives are declarative statements which provide a direction to the investigator, that is the researcher. What is the study about? It's going to suggest. It gives you a focus. It gives you a way of identifying variables, measuring these variables, and describing these variables. So objectives are also directed towards establishing the relationship between variables, comparing the variables, determining the influence or the impact that they have on another variable. So you have a dependent variable and an independent variable. For example, how many marks you score in an exam will depend on how much effort you have put in. So effort becomes a dependent, your marks are dependent on your effort. It's that kind of, so you study the influential change that is taking place. So the connection is like this also. Sometimes it is not just the independent and the dependent variable. There is also a mediator variable. So hereafter in my talk, I will be talking of IV, DV, and MV. That just means these different variables. IV, I will say, is for independent, dependent variable, and mediator variable. Another name for mediator variable is intervening variable. I'll give an example of a study which is very general. It can be applicable to any specialization that you have taken, regardless of whatever subject you are doing. So this is a general example. What is the benefit of music in exercise? So you can formulate your study in different ways. The study can be of lower level, lower order, or a higher order. Now look at these. If the study is effect of music on exercise, then you're going to be measuring the exercise. Will fast music be enhancing my speed, or will it make a difference? Then the next, on the left hand side, I have listed effect of music on exercise intensity. Here you are going to be measuring the intensity of exercise. Music and exercise performance. So is it going to be different? Intensity is different, performance is different. So each level you will see that the variables will change according to what is the objective that is stated. Now, this is from Brunel's University. On your right hand side, this image is from Brunel's University. They have done an intensive study on benefits of music in exercise. Now, not only has it psychological effects, but psychophysical effects, psychophysiological effects, and behavioral effects. So, this is an example that I may be coming back sometime in the slides. So, if you have understood this, I could go further in how to select a suitable statistical tool. If my objective is clear, I know my variables, so I need to select a suitable statistical tool just to prove that what I find is valid and it is reliable. Every research has to be valid and reliable. Why? Because anybody who takes up the same research should also get the same results. So any research should be replicable. They should be able to, so you should be able to say uh, uh, with confidence that this is valid. Whatever test I've done is valid. That's why we use statistical tools, and I will not explain this because during the explanation I will come to different assumptions. Normality, I will just come to the last point. Normality is nothing but when you get data, if you put your data normal, if it is normally distributed, you get a bell-shaped curve. If it's not normally distributed, it is skewed. It may be tilted. The whole curve may be tilted to the skewed to the left or to the right. So appropriate tools you will have to decide based on the normality of your data. While analyzing data, whatever you get, the analysis, those are your results. That is what you have found out. So that is what is called empirically test. You know, you test. It's your hypothesis. So you have tested. So you have done it personally, and that is what your results are called empirical data. That is empirical. You have done. I will skip this one and the next 3 slides. Why? Because this is to do with statistics. Based on the statistics, based on your objective, you know your variables. Based on your variables, then you decide which statistical tool to apply. And if it is non-parametric test or parametric test, that depends on this. This table helps you decide which to use. Again, choosing the right statistical test will also depend on various factors. And instead of spending time on this chart, which is easily available to you in books and through this presentation, I would spend time in giving you examples of different studies and different types of variables and tools. So I go directly to what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but a statement that which you can say with confidence that you can accept this as a null hypothesis. If you have not understood what is null hypothesis, I'm giving you examples now. There is no difference between doing an exercise with music or without music. You know, that is null, you call it null hypothesis. You accept it or reject it based on a statistical calculation. And you get a p-value, the calculated p-value. You should be able to say with confidence, yes, I'm sure, I'm 95% sure that my results are correct. If you can say with that confidence, then you will say the level of confidence is 0.05. If you can say with 99% confidence, then you will say Yes, I can say with confidence of 0.01 that I accept this null hypothesis. Now, so the value, whatever calculated value you get, if it's greater, then you accept the hypothesis, and if it is less, you reject the hypothesis. This is what is, sorry, an example. For example, you want to study a socio-economic profile of your respondents. You decide to study on a particular sample. For example, it is, say, uh, children. You are taking, no, not, let's take some other group in society. You're taking vendors who are street vendors. So you're going to be studying the socio-economic profile of these selected respondents of the study. So when I say it could be vendors, it could be students, it could be teachers, it could be householders, it could be employees, it could be any of these. So these are not, so you can put these as a categorical variable because you can make categories. If it is students, you can always put it into category as FY students, SY students, TY students, postgraduate students. So you can make categories. So that's what is categorical variable. So if there is no hypothesis is required for this, so you can use a simple statistical analysis like percentage analysis. And normally such objectives are not spelled out, because when you do a study on students, you're going to be doing something. The objective is something else, not to find out their socioeconomic profile or something like that. So it is expected from you that you do that basic study about, because you have to know your respondents or you have to know your subjects well. If you have a study where you need to compare the variables of a study between two groups, say two groups of students, you have two classes or between two divisions in a, here I've taken an example of comparing to understand the customer experiences of in the banking sector. For example, if I want to compare the services of State Bank of India and HDFC. Now, SBI is a nationalized bank. HDFC is a private bank. So you're going to be comparing, and how will you do that? You will compare the experiences. You'll take the customer experiences and you will try to compare. You can take another example that I've given here is taking the stress role between public and private sector banks. See, you're going to be studying not customers, but the bank employees, and you're going to be comparing two variables. In this case also, you do not require hypothesis, and you could use discriminant analysis, which are much simpler to use. Then studies where you are exploring variables. You have to see every slide that I'm going, I have spelled out the objective. The studies are different. The variables will vary according to the objective, and that decides whether you want a hypothesis or you do not require one. And each time, each type of study will require a different statistical tool as mentioned. So that's why I have underlined. To identify, see, action verb, because it is an objective. It is suggesting an action that you will identify the factors affecting role stress of bank employees. Now that's a construct. Construct of the study means that is what you are going to be studying, and what is going to be the different, the dependent variable, independent variable, and the intervening that these variables will be of scales. You will prepare the scale to measure these, and you will do some analysis. Let's see, while measuring variables in a study, you can have an objective. For example, in a food processing industry, for example, say modern bakery, you're going to go to this company and you want to do a case study or something like that, and you're going to be finding the stress role stress, meaning each of them are playing a role in that company, and you want to find out the stress levels of these employees. Now, In that company, there are managers, there are supervisors, there are workers, there are packers, there are so many levels. So the company is a construct, and then you can scale your variables. So you find the stress level at each level, what is the kind of stress. So this gives you an opportunity to use tools like descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics is your mean, median, mode, standard deviation. You can use such statistical tools. Measuring the variables in a study, a similar example, it is the same study, but I have taken another example which is a little more complex. Now let's see. I'm sure when you go to the gym, many people have their eyes on a big TV that is put. So you're watching a match, or you're watching a serial, or something that is happening, or the news, or something happening. So this is in a gym setting. So to study the effect of motivational audiovisual stimuli on the psychophysiological responses during exercise. Now this is a little more complex study than the previous. So your objective has stated what exactly you want. Now you're going to be finding out motivational audiovisual stimuli. So whether having that TV on is going to make a difference in your exercise, or just having the music on is going to have a difference. So you're going to be testing. So there are so many things, many variables, the situational motivation, whether the same thing works at home, you can compare, or you can whether the intensity of the exercise is going to have a change, whether the psychological response is going to be different, whether the brain activity during the exercise is going to be different. So there can be so many different variables that you could study, and again you could use descriptive statistics. If you have studies where you're finding the difference in the perception or behavior, attitude, satisfaction, all these are qualitative. They are not measurable. So they are not quantitative, but these are attributes which are you have to make scales. You have to prepare scales to measure these. Can you measure attitude? You will have to prepare. You can't say so much percent attitude. I have this much percent attitude. It's not possible to measure. So these attributes are qualitative attributes, which when you are going to be measuring, you will have to be careful in wording your objective. Look at this study. I've taken it from a study that has already been done as an example. Objective 1 states that to find out the difference in the emotional intelligence, which is a construct. Emotional intelligence is a construct. Okay, of senior secondary school, that is junior college students, in relation to their gender and place of living. Now this study was done, 300 samples were taken from a rural setting, junior college, and 300 students from a urban setting. So you have boys, girls. So there is a difference in the gender. Again, place, rural, urban. Again, a variable which is different. Then you have the emotional intelligence of each child of these 600 students. You have to measure the emotional intelligence using some kind of tool. And after measuring, you're going to be also studying their academic achievement. So there is so you'll have to have, for these two objectives, you cannot have one hypothesis. You'll have to say null hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2. So for the hypothesis 1, there is no significant difference in the emotional intelligence of selected senior secondary students in relation to gender or place. So it doesn't matter whether they are boys or girls. It doesn't matter whether they are rural or urban. There is no difference. That is your first null hypothesis. Second null hypothesis, there is no effect of their emotional intelligence on the academic achievement of these students. So for this type of study, you will have to use two-way ANOVA. So these, I'm just telling you these statistical tools. I'm just mentioning these, not that you may have to do it, because there are many statisticians who help students, researchers in their statistical part, but it is important when you start a study to understand that there are different tools which can be applied. So a statistician will guide you which is the appropriate tool to be used. Now, this study has used two-way ANOVA. Why? Because there are two categories, two variables, and there are two scales to be measured. And if there was students were taken only from cities, urban areas, maybe one-way ANOVA would have worked. But if it is a two-way, then you need to use two-way ANOVA. Difference between before and after. These are experimental studies. Before and after. Say example, you study a group, you give them skill training, skill development. Say you're going to be training a batch of students. So you look at you take a test before they start, then you will give them the training, say it's a 3 months course, and after the training is over, again you take the test them. So, and you will see what is the difference. Is there any change? Have their skills improved? Have their efficiency improved? Has their understanding improved? Have they become better? So that kind of before after are mostly experimental designs where you will use hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the level of performance. Here I have given example for the textile students, dye house employees. Now in the processing house, there are many supervisors, there are dye masters, there are various people who are working there, and you're going to see whether their performance has improved after giving them a training. You give them a 15-day training and see whether their efficiency or their performance has improved. Now you have two scale variable, before and after, means you will be taking before the training and after the training. Such a test is called paired t-test. A t-test. It's generally a short form. It's you have time series test. If you're studying trends, fashion trends, or trends in Lakme Fashion Week, you're studying it over so many years. Over a time of period, you're going to be studying trends. In such a situation, it is better to use a t-test. It studies like clustering of variables in a study. Now, many times in a study, you may be able to cluster the respondents. For example, I'm giving an example in a mall. There are different people working in a mall, not visitors, but people who are employed in the mall. There are people who will carry those goods inside, people who will clean the housekeeping staff. There will be people who will be in the stores who are managing sales. So there are different kinds of. So it is possible to cluster these people, uh, though they are employed in the same mall, but you can cluster and prepare construct your tour when you're studying them and you're doing your research. So no hypothesis may be required and you can use cluster analysis. So I'm just introducing you to these terms, and this tool will help to group the respondents into categorical variables based on some kind of similarity that they will have. Then there may be different kinds of studies, association between two variables. There is some kind of, you want to find out if there is an association um, between two variables. For example, is there an association between the type of stress and the nature of work done by school teachers? Now, all school teachers and college teachers are taking online classes. They were taking physically 6 months back. So, did they have stress at that time and now online classes? See, the nature of work was same. Preparation for the class was similar. The preparation that the way it has to be delivered is similar. They have to teach. Basically, that was the work. But did this cause stress to teachers? So this is something that you can study. So is there an association between the stress and the nature of work? Means now that it has become online, is there more stress? That you could try to find out. So your null hypothesis can be there is no significant association between the two types of stress, whether it was in class or whether it is online, it doesn't matter. So In this case, you will use a chi-square analysis. Chi-square test tells you or tells the association between, it's a calculation, and you get a little, you get a calculated figure, and you have to find out whether this calculated value is more or less than the table value to arrive at your decision whether there is an association or whether there is no association. So if there is no association, then the null hypothesis is rejected. Some other type of studies where there is a relationship, not association. The earlier slide talked of association. Now we are talking of relationship between two variables. For example, the role of stressors, what is this that gives stress, and the quality of work. So there is a independent variable, that is stressors, and the quality of work is dependent variable. So more the stress, better the work. Is the efficiency going to improve for the call center employees? So this is the construct, or call center employees, if you're going to be studying their stress levels and their performance. So a hypothesis that was, there is no significant relationship between the two, and then you can use correlation. Now correlation, there are two things in correlation test that tells you, it gives you the direction, means more the stress, better the work, means it is telling you both are going up, higher the stress, higher the efficiency, both are going in the same direction, or lower the stress, lower the output. So it's telling you direction. Second thing that a correlation tells you is the relationship. How much related? Is it, how close is it related? Means it tells you the strength of that relationship. So objective is very important. How you word the objective is going to be deciding what tool you will use for your testing your hypothesis. Similarly, there are influence, effect, impact, such type of studies uh, on a dependent and an independent variable. So if you want to examine such type of, I'm taking the example of stress again, on the quality of work of bank employees. So if is there or no, so you have a null hypothesis which always says there is no significant difference or anything. But here you can use multiple regression analysis. In general, regression analysis is for prediction. You want to predict something. See, engineers also and start selling it immediately, they will want to test it. And to improve the efficiency, they will have to test, they will have to do a regression analysis. Means it is a kind of a predictions model. And you see whether that model will work, then the whole, the entire product will work. The conceptual model of the study. Proving conceptual model is to find out whether this mediating effect, you have the IM, you remember that dependent variable, independent variable, the mediating effect of a job burnout on the quality of work of IT industry employees in response to their role stressors. So there is a dependent, independent, and a intervening or mediatory variable. So there are three variables here, and here sometimes it will be able, you may be able to develop tools such as structural equation models to prove this such type of studies. These are very common, I think, data science, engineers, mechanical engineering, there are civil engineers. These are people who will depend on these models. They develop these models which to prove the conceptual model, whether this model will work in the industry or it will not. So to sum up, objectives, I said in the beginning, are the core of any research because they will decide what variables you will take and their interdependence. Are they associated? Are they related? It will also decide your hypothesis, whether to accept or reject, to have a hypothesis or not to have. It will also decide the subjects or the sample of population, who you want to study and how much you want to study and what are the aspects you want to study. So your variables are decided here, your sample size is decided here, the statistical tool that will be required, and how you will shape your research project depending on the kind of analysis and the discussion that will come up. So to define, it also defines the scope of your study. Remember, in music and exercise, I gave a list. So you can have a simple study and you can make it more complex. All depends on how you frame your objective and you identify your variables from it. Therefore, the main title. So always give your main title to the end when you have finished your project, because the main title is what conveys. When you pick up a book to read, you always look at the title. If the title is catchy and you understand what the contents are, you will pick up that book. So the main title should be given to the end. And it also, because it tells the scope of the study, it conveys to the reader what to expect from this. So when you want people to read your article, so you would like, because you put in so much effort, so your visibility should be there when you. Therefore I said in the beginning that try to apply these what you learned today into your seminar work or the project work that you have started. See how you can fit in any of this and prepare a project which you can publish. So that improves your visibility. I'm sure you like to take your selfie photographs, you like to go on Instagram and Facebook, and so why not? Why not project your work and your research and do a small study and say, see, this is my finding. So you like it, thumbs up. That's what I have to say today. These are some references that I took as examples to just quote some, and some I have taken from Dr. Mufliha, who was also presenting with me at a international research webinar series in the month of August. She was also a speaker. I was also a speaker. A lot we got to learn from each other, and I have used a lot of examples from her PowerPoint presentation, and I thank her. I am extremely grateful to the principal and the management of PMN College for giving me this opportunity. And I thank Mrs. Prajna Ambre, coordinator of UGC Stride Research Cell, for inviting me as a speaker. I'm also thankful to Dr. Mufliha for sharing all her valuable inputs, which I could in turn share with all of you. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Students, if you have any questions for ma'am, you can put forward here. You can put it in the comment box as well.
Difficult. Difficult to ask a question. Is it? I think if you would like to, as I suggested, publish something from your seminar. Let's see if you can prepare an objective of your seminar topic. Any of you volunteer? I only see thank you, ma'am, in the chat box. That means it's to be forgotten today. I would like you to use it, apply it in your seminar work. So whatever topic you have selected, prepare a small objective and unmute yourself and say.
Good afternoon, Suman ma'am.
Good afternoon.
It's my pride and privilege to have been part of your session. I hope you remember me.
Yes, Janvi,
And
Dr. Janvi.
yes, ma'am.
I'm so proud.
Yes, ma'am. Now, so for students who don't know, Suman ma'am was my teacher in back in 2003, 2004, and usually we tend to remember only our specialization teachers. But Suman ma'am has been one teacher whom I have never forgotten, and I will never forget in my life. She taught us textiles and made it so interesting and passionate. And along with that, she taught us a lot about life. So I'm very happy to see you, ma'am, today and listen to the session that you shared.
I'm not
Students, if you have questions, please to ask, ma'am.
I wanted to give a lot of examples related to ECC, and but it was becoming difficult. I thought BCA students, everybody, that's why I took
Yes,
general examples.
and in fact, ma'am, one of the examples that you shared about how online teaching is affecting students. So someone taking students have taken it up as a seminar project. So my
I
request to
couldn't.
all HD students is please visit your seminar objectives vis-a-vis today's session. And if you feel you need to fine tune them, you need to frame them better, please do that.
If
And if there is anything that you wish to ask, please feel free to ask.
uh, please take my email address in case you feel today you don't want to ask, but you want to ask at some other point of time. I have retired as a associate professor, and now I have the consultancy, so it is free consultation for students who wish to consult at any time. Okay.
I think once they start doing it, they will be having more questions.
Yes, I think so too. But I was telling Pradnya ma'am, this may help them use, think in the beginning. So they have the next 3 months to work on and do a project which can be.
Absolutely. And it will help them plan it throughout, right from objectives until analysis.
We are just in time.
Hello, Suman.
Yes, Dr. Pradnya has joined it.
Ma'am, I just joined.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
just joined. How was it? How it went? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just putting my email address in the chat box. Anybody has any problems stuck at any time, you're free to.
Okay. Ma'am, question answers is over.
No questions came because now it's only action. Action,
Okay.
and action.
Fine.
Because all the objectives are action based. That's what I told them.
Right.
So they have to work on it.
Fine.
So at any point
Thank
of
you,
time, I
Suman.
can come back and
Yes.
solve their queries at some other point of time.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, Suman, ma'am. Thank you so much. Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
couldn't join in.
No problem. I'm
I
sure.
was just reaching home and then.
I'm sure you have the recording with you, so you can see at any
Yes,
time.
I will definitely listen.
And please share
Thank
the PPT with students. They may need it now or when they are doing their PG course. At any point of time, they may require it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Suman, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody speaking at the end? Janvi?
Ma'am,
Thank you
we're
so much.
just about to give ma'am the vote of thanks.
Okay, fine.
Um, so thank you, ma'am, for this enlightening presentation. I'm sure the students will apply the insights that you have shared with us today and will be surely helpful in their research journey. Thank you once again, ma'am. It was an honor to have you amongst us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Suman, ma'am.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Shall we end then?
Yes, we can.